everybody. Welcome to 10 Backward. I'm your host, Ron McAdams.
And I'm James Rohling.
Hey, and if you haven't joined us before, 10 Backward is a series where James and I talk about episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, starting with Season 7 and working our way backward, very funny, through the entire series. James, how you been?
I've been great, except we had to watch this episode, and I am not happy about it.
No, I'm not happy either. You would think that for something that was written by Ronald D. Moore, that it would be better as someone who has been there since the beginning of Next Gen. But
no, it's not. You think someone with an Emmy and a Hugo and a Saturn Award would be able to give us better writing than what we have in front of us, and it's not. It's not good.
Well, it's you also neglected to mention that he had a Universe Reader's Choice Award, which seems suspect since I'm not sure that we're in communication with any other cultures in the universe that are writing science fiction. That's like when they say the World Series, but only one country sends ball teams to it.
That's true. It's like when somebody wins the grand prize of the NBA, they call them the world champions, even though only people from the United States and Canada are there. So it's not like, there's no franchise teams out from South America, right, or Asia or Africa.
Right. You know what? And I would think that like Brazil would like really clean up in the basketball, because you would just have like an entire team of like Blancas from Street Fighter 2. And you would just and it would just be like anytime somebody get near you, you do that like shock move and you just like take the ball away.
Yeah. Just so everyone out there knows, if you're from Brazil, just stay inside when it's raining. You're gonna kill everybody.
Yeah. I just it's a very strange country that was their representative to the Street Fighter, sort of tournament. So I don't know. It's I never really thought about that, but
there's a lot of unanswered questions with Street Fighter and with today's episode, Journey's End.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I actually, we've consistently said that season 7 is bad, and that's true. There are some little tiny, shiny, bright elements here and there, but this episode, it feels like a classic Trek episode.
Yeah.
And it feels like something that even Next Gen has like continually sort of like retread this same idea over and over again.
Oh, definitely. It's the struggle of the people who really don't have any power, and the almighty Federation needing to move them or save them, or fill in column or fill in C for yourself, because that's what they've already done. I don't know how many times already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's even if you were to think about the reverse order that we're kind of doing this in, not to tip off any earlier episodes, but I mean, I've seen all this Next Gen stuff, but I mean, they did a movie. This episode is kind of the same
Insurrection
basic of like Insurrection, and then there's an episode that's like really early in the series that's like Worf's human brother is like trying to sneak some people and get them to move away from their planet because there's MacGuffin trade dispute, or it's we want your dilithium, or who knows what. It's always some squirrely thing, but and this time it's Native Americans that they're like, we've already been moved off the reservation one time. I mean, we left your whole damn planet, Whitey. Why can't you leave us alone?
Yeah, there are so many things about this episode that was very uncomfortable to watch. And I don't know if that's how you felt the first time you watched it when it came out in 1994, but like now I'm just like, really? These are the choices they went with? Was 1994 a simpler time?
Yeah. I think maybe a little bit. I just think that maybe things weren't as I'm not trashing on PC culture. I think that they very kind of respectfully dealt with the subject matter of this episode, which is we have Native Americans who've been classically kind of crapped on and moved and forced off their land repeatedly.
Right.
And it's, it's kind of one of those stories, and it's the ending of it. You don't really, I remember when I watched it a long time ago, I didn't really like understand the end. I mean, I understood it, like it's pretty simple, but at the same time, it's just kind of like I don't know, why would they do that? But oh well, at least it wasn't like that episode like Kirok, where it's like Kirk and hanging out with like the lady off of the Land O'Lakes butter thing. So I mean, they were respectful. They kind of they didn't have anybody in brown makeup and things trying to pretend that they are of an ethnicity or of a sort of a cultural background that they're not part of. So I mean,
yeah, that's true.
They did stars. I mean, extra. I mean, 5 stars for that, but
they did keep calling them Indians, and even the Cardassian one was like, "What? You got all these Indians on them." I'm like, really? You're a Cardassian? You really do Cardassians really know American culture that much?
Well, I'm sure that they have a dossier or something, but I mean, they never said Native. I don't even think they used the word Native Americans in this thing because I mean, it's far enough in the future that like the geopolitical boundaries are all down, but I mean, there's still regional, like the Americas or something.
True.
So I don't know. I mean, this is hundreds and hundreds of years in the future, so I mean, maybe they. I don't know. Yeah, it seems weird that they. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like it came all the way back around.
Right.
It's like, that is our word. Pale face.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it does seem rather strange because and watching it now, I mean, I did kind of be like, Indians, really?
Yeah.
Because I can remember in high school like that it was sort of like Native Americans or indigenous people or like First Nations. Yeah. I mean, even back then, because I would have been like a senior in high school when this episode aired. So
I was 11.
How old I am. Yeah. Well, it's okay, man. It's all right. I don't hold it against you. So that's why we're going on this vision quest now.
Oh yes, our vision quest.
I may lead you through this, this journey of self-discovery. So and that was another thing they were really good about. Like they did not, and remember when I'm doing that voice, when I'm, Cynthia drink slurm, that's the native Martians. This is in no way an insult to the proud people of the people that were here before the white man came and ruined everything. So, but
and like as I am Wesley and you are my Lacanta, you are leading me and helping me on this vision quest.
Yeah. And I remember there's like a DS9 or something connection to this episode too or not maybe DS9 but like a Voyager connection. Like maybe I'm half remembering this, but I'm pretty sure that like the Chakotay with from Voyager was like a member of the oh man, I feel terrible. That's the thing. When you start talking, you got to make sure you got all your words together. The Maquis. So
the Maquis, yeah.
Yeah, the Maquis. So he's like a Native American Maquis person, and I think that there is some sort of tenuous connection to this episode with like the colonists being forced off their land because of the Cardassian Federation sort of like dickery that went on there, kind of as part of DS9 and things like that. So,
right.
But it's I think they might even bring this up, this Dorvan 5 planet, as like one of the things that kind of made sort of polarize the people on the fringe, because that's kind of the thing with like Voyager and the Maquis and some DS9 stuff, is that if you're back in like 001, like you're back on Earth, it's like the Federation and all this utopia stuff is like pretty easy, but I mean you start getting further and further out into space, shit starts breaking down. And the colonists like don't really feel like a huge connection to the Federation. They don't really feel a huge connection to Starfleet and all this militaristic stuff. And it's like these are just decisions that are being made like at this very far away place. So I could see them very much as like American colonists with the British, passing taxes and things like that. And there's a little bit of that in this episode too. But
yeah.
So I don't know. We've talked about this episode enough. Do you want to actually talk about the episode?
Sure. Do you want to start us off with the cold open?
Yeah, that's cool. So, everything, Captain's log, stardate 477, blah, 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 blah. The Enterprise is going to meet with Admiral Nechayev. That's like the blonde chick that, really, I can't remember when, well, we'll see her again in earlier episodes, but basically this lady is just like a hard-ass Starfleet admiral, and you don't really like her. Everybody thinks she's evil, because that's the thing on Star Trek, is that you, once you get to be an admiral, you just turn into like an evil, crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so, basically they're going to go meet her because there's like some mission she's going to send the Enterprise on, and it's given us an opportunity to pick up a member of the ship's family. And who could that be? It's Mr. Wesley Wesely Crusher.
Yeah.
So he's returned from Starfleet Academy, kind of on a little mini vacation. And so, he's kind of catching up with Beverly, and she's like, hey, because I think it even opens where she's like showing him his own quarters, where it's like, hey, you don't have to stay with mom. Like, you're getting to be a young man. And
I don't need to cut my hair anymore, Mom.
Right. You can have like a little bit of your own space. So Geordi and Data show up and kind of welcome him. And there's one of those little awkward Data moments.
Yeah. Was this when Data had his emotions chip? Because he seemed more jovial than like he should have been.
Well, I think that part of that is that Brent Spiner in the 7th season forgets how to play Data off and on. like he thinks that he's like one of the Wheelers or something every so often, where he's like, it's not as bad as that episode with him and Joe Piscopo where he's like, man walks into a bar, see, and it's doing all the like, where it's okay, there's no way. If you have no emotions, how are you doing this?
Right. So,
but no, it's one of those things where there's a joke where it's, I don't understand like human customs, even though I've lived among humans for my forever.
For my forever.
For my forever. So it's just the dumbest thing. But he's like a joke about, hey, I wasn't being serious kind of thing. And it's like, what? So, but Wesley is not being his usual sort of happy-go-lucky self, and so his mom kind of notices that he's like just kind of a little depressed and all that, and is like, oh, we'll go ahead and, get yourself all settled in, and we'll see y'all later. And then, he sits down in the bed and he's looking all morose, and then the camera kind of pulls back, and then we drop to opening credits.
Wesley, we're doing pancakes in the morning. It's like, I fucking hate pancakes, Mom. So then we hit right into Jean-Luc Picard in the observation lounge, and you can see he's got some refreshments everywhere. And who's like, it's Riker. Riker's there, and he's like, ooh, Earl Grey hot, some sandwiches and canapes. What's this all about? And Picard wants to kind of smooth things over with Admiral Nechayev, and he knows that these canapes are something of like her favorite snack or something, which, and this got me right away. If you have a matter like creator like they do in this universe, like she could just say, okay, I want those canapes every day. So how is this really like trying to impress her when she's like, no, I can do this already. I don't have time for your canapes.
Well, I think that there's certain times where, how are you ever impressed by anything in a post-scarcity world where it's just like, I can have, like when you were a kid where it's like, it's kind of a special treat to go and do certain things. And it's like, well, I'm an adult. I can do it anytime I want. But I think that there are still chefs on the Enterprise that occasionally like make
like
things,
real food.
Like actually make stuff. Because, I mean, they make it a point in the series that they have barbers on board.
I guess that's true.
So you don't just stick your head in, like, they don't just, like, beam the hair off your head. Like, there's some experiences that you still kind of go and have because it's, I guess, maybe part of being human.
Yeah.
And occasionally that's, having people prepare canapes by hand.
That just struck me. I was like, you can order these anytime. I don't know why you're trying to impress. Anyway, so when the Admiral gets there, she's just immediately all business. Riker, get the hell out of here. We got to get to her. We got to start talking. Mm-hmm. And so she starts talking, then she turns around and is like, ooh, are those Balerian canapes? And Picard is like, yeah, you want one? Come on, sit down. Let's have a conversation. So Nechayev explains the Federation and the Cardassians have just completed a, 3 or 4 year long negotiations on the border. And when Picard takes a look at the actual border and the space that contains within the border, he notices that there's some colonies on both sides that have to leave. There's Federation colonies in the Cardassian territory. There's Cardassian colonies in Federation territory, and the Admiral says that these territories all have to be relocated. They can't stay where they are.
Right, because space is like a straight line.
Exactly.
It's like a straight line on the map. You couldn't have like a little loop-de-doo to go out and encompass another planet. I mean, that's just too tough for the cartography.
You can't gerrymander space, I guess, is what he's saying.
I guess.
But so we have these colonies that are all in quite the pickle. Now, the Admiral Admiral hands over Picard like the little data pad. And he's scrolling through the data pad and notices, wait, there's some American Indians who have settled on a planet called Dorvan 5 that's been about 20 years.
And
been
there a bit.
Yeah, and Picard starts getting into the history of natives and how they've been displaced from their lands centuries ago, and he doesn't want to relive that. He doesn't want that to become a thing for these people again. And she's like, no, I know. We've talked about this, but we don't care. You're going to have to move these people out of their settlement, and if you don't, and if they don't want to leave, you're going to have to move them by force.
And here, sorry to interrupt, but it's like, there's like a point where she says something about like that they left Earth 200 years ago, but they've only been on this planet for like 20 years. And I'm just thinking, I thought when I heard that, I was like, that's like a long ass time to hang out on a brother's couch.
Yeah.
It's like, just, hey, like, you said you were going to stay for just like a week or two, but it's been like 3 generations, man. You guys are going to have to find your own place.
Yeah, we will next week, man.
Yeah, it's all right, man. It's so when my unemployment check shows up, man, I'm gonna go get me like a hot plate, and then I'll be ready to move out, brother. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Yeah. So it was all about them just, they left Earth to migrate away, and Picard actually mentioned something about this being part of their cultural heritage, and then Nechayev says like, no, well, they're by nature they're already going to wander anyway, so really it doesn't matter. It's like, no, they left Earth so they can preserve their cultural identity. They didn't choose to really do all this stuff. They just had to be able to keep their culture. Like, it's not like it's not like choosing to eat a hamburger. It's choosing to keep your entire civilization intact.
Right. It's like these guys love smallpox blankets. Just give them some, man. It's their heritage.
Right. And that kind of was an interesting little piece there. Like, oh no, they like to wander. They really just want to wander. That's their thing. It's like, no, they've picked a place. Now you're forcing them to wander. There's a big difference.
Right.
So anyway, that's done, and Picard, you can tell he is not really happy with this. And she even says, hey, do we need to get someone else to captain the Enterprise to take care of this mission? And he's like, no, we'll take care of it.
Yeah, and it's like, it's crazy because they don't even need a single canapé.
Yeah, they really don't. I think she's
they just sit there with them on the table.
She's sitting there like, I'm not touching his Valerian canapés.
I know, it's crazy because it's, and you know what? Not eating those canapés, that's the real war crime of this episode.
I mean, he put all that thought by contacting her aide to know that she wants canapés.
Hey, I was creeper in your Facebook, and I saw you like canapés. So
these are really from Baleria.
Yeah, wherever that is.
Yeah. So while this is all going on in engineering, LaForge and Wesley are having a little conversation about how Geordi is working on these relays, and Wesley is just not having any of it. He responds, he's like a little jerk. He's like, well, you're doing this thing wrong, man. Turn this thing around because you're going to have no energy for it, man. And LaForge is like, You're not nice. You need to be nicer to me. I don't understand what happened to you.
Yeah.
And
it's like, why are you being a jerk?
Yeah. He's like, all your work's obsolete, brother. You need to get some better technology for this the ship, or it's going to go down. Mm-hmm. And Geordi just is like, you are you're talking to an officer. You need to stop acting like this, and dismisses him. And
yeah,
he's like, I don't need help with that kind of attitude, young man.
Yeah, angsty crusher. Just head on back to wherever you came from, young man.
Yeah, that just, I don't know. It seemed like they just needed a reason to make Wesley, I don't know. It just seems like a huge shift from the last time we've seen him. From what I know. Yeah. From what I know. Yeah. Let's just make that clear.
But that's been kind of always a complaint about Wesley Crusher's character, that it's like, if he's supposed to be this super exceptional young person, why is he just doing, like, why is his, like, ultimate sort of expression of his greatness that he just gets to do a job that adults do as a kid? Because it's like, forever they parked him over there at the con, right? Or at the helm rather, so that he can just drive the ship. It's like, okay, sit on Daddy's lap and you can control the Enterprise. Get the manual steering column up, Riker. And that was like supposed to be like his great thing. And it's just like, if you're destined for greatness, man, you should be like doing great things, not just doing other people's expectations. And I think that that's part of his crisis.
Okay.
That's going on in this episode. So, but yeah, so another commercial break, like you were saying, dismisses him and just, it's like, I don't need your bullshit up here in my house. It's like, you don't know how hard the prop department worked on this for you to just shit all over it, Wesley Crusher. And so
you have a union man. You have a union man painting all weekend.
That's right, man. You don't understand. We had to steal half this stuff from the set of DS9. But so Act 2, it's the Enterprise has arrived at Dorvan 4 or 5. Yeah, 5. Yeah. Sorry, they stopped at 4, got smokes, and then headed over to Dorvan 5. So they're meeting with the tribal council, and it's Picard and Troy, because Troy is just there for additional exposition and to, like, somebody says something that it's like, oh, the audience needs this explained to them, maybe. So I'll ask the question so that I've got something to do this episode. So they're having a tribal meeting, and the tribal council rather, and they're just kind of talking about their history, and they're like, like, you need to or the tribal councilor's like, hey, like, you need to reconsider this. We're not going anywhere. So you guys need to go ahead and just, sharpen your pencil. And Picard is like, hey, like, we're going to have to move you. I'm not really sure. We're there's nothing to really discuss here. We're just telling you we're here to move you. And so we're going to move you. And so Troy is like, hey, there's other planets here that you can kind of colonize that have similar environmental conditions to the planet you're on. And we'll help you move over there, and we'll get you resettled. We'll basically transplant your whole culture. And they're like, yeah, it's great. It's like, sunny and 70 every day, but that's not why we're here. There's like an intangible sort of thing about this place, that it's more that there's like a spiritual sort of connection we have with this place, because repeatedly in the episode they kind of say, like, we found this place,
right?
And it's like, and there's a little bit of kind of Native American sauce they throw on it. It's like, it's like the rivers and the skies, they welcomed us and things. And was
this at the point of where Anthwara does that stereotypical, like, get up from the table, turn towards the window, and it's like, I came here for the mountains. I know he's kind of standing there, and it's just kind of like it shifts in conversation from being like a negotiation to being like an emotional plea, right?
Which is really all that they have, because it's like, like, there's this intangible thing that I can't explain to you why we're here, and Picard, like, repeatedly says, we respect your beliefs and we respect how you feel about these things, but this is something that's happened, and I can go to my boss, but I can call the regional manager, man. This is his day off, dude, but I will call him for you because I'm all about customer service. But they're like, this has already gone to like the highest levels of
Best we can do is a $10 gift card.
Right. It's, I can price match it for you, man. Maybe I can get you some clown fries to go with it. But there is like a guy kind of hanging around in the background. His name's like Wasaka. And he's like kind of he's a member of the council, maybe. And he's like, like you're laughing at us and we don't like this. And it's, Picard's like, no, I'm not saying anything bad, man. It's, get off my balls. And so they're like, well, why don't you guys come to the Enterprise and we're going to put on a spread for you and we'll talk more about this. So fast forward to later, Wesley's in his quarters. Dr. Crusher kind of comes by and he's like, hey, we need to talk about this, like your mood and all that. You've been like sullen, you're rude, and you're not treating people the way that you should. And she brings up the incident that happened in engineering. And she's like, you're like a fourth year Starfleet cadet. You should have a certain level of maturity. And Wesley just like flies off the handle. And he's like, I'm sick of living up to other people's expectations. I'm sick of all these rules of Starfleet. I'm just sick of everything. And I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I know I don't want to do this. So he abruptly kind of leaves.
I just don't want to be swing manager of the Stuckies, man.
That's right, man. I want to run Hot Fish Shop, and I'm going to spend my life stinking of pepper. I think I made that joke a couple times, but it's still a good Mr. Show joke.
It's a solid one, yeah.
So, yeah. So, but later that night at the reception for the Native American people in 10 Forward, and they're not even Native Americans. They're transplant Dorvan Fivians.
I guess so. At this point, yes.
What are you going to do about the nomenclature? So they're at the reception, and all the leaders of the Dorvan 5 contingency are kind of talking about their ancestors and the spirits that guide the people there. And so I guess he talks about like the leader of these guys is the like great-great-grandson of the guy that actually led them to the planet. So he feels like a very special connection to kind of protecting the heritage of the people there. And because he's like, we're very much about our family and about our beliefs. And how much do you really know about your family? And Picard's like, well, let me tell you my life story. So they kind of set off to the side, and he's like, and you can kind of hear him for a minute or two. It's like, well, my father was we first came to Europe and da-da-da-da-da. And Wesley shows up late, and his mom kind of scolds him for being late to this party. But they finally kind of sit down and chat for a little bit. And one of the Native American people, whose name is like LaQuinta, like I'd pay like $69 a night to stay at his house.
That's a very expensive La Quinta.
Yeah, I guess so. But he tells Wesley that he knew that he was going to come to Dorvan 5, that he had saw it in a vision quest that he had in this like whatever, like sweat lodge kind of thing. And he's like, this is where, our colony, we have a meditation chamber where we go on vision quests. And, it's like, I knew that you were coming, and you're vital to like the resolution of this dispute. And Wesley's like, I don't really understand like what's going on. But he's like, you need to come with me. You need to come down to the planet, and I can get you the answers that you seek. And it's like, ooh, like maybe Wesley's going to get, some sagely advice.
Quite possibly. Because because right after this, you get a little more background about Wesley and his issues lately. Because Beverly goes to Picard and asks, hey, these are things that I think men need to talk about. Would you be able to talk about that with Wesley? And Picard's like, no thanks. And she's like, come on, man. He's going on a path that's going to have him dropped out of his Starfleet class, and he's the admiral that he's under says that his grades are slipping, and he's being a little defensive, and Picard is
which is total bullshit, because that is a SIPSA violation. Like, he's legally an adult,
Right?
Like the school can't release information to the parent unless the student gives permission. So I am absolutely going to report these guys as soon as we're done with the podcast.
That sounds like a horrible oversight.
Yes.
So Picard, however, is like, no, he doesn't want to hear it from me. He needs to just do his own thing. He doesn't really say he needs to do his own thing, but Picard, I think, knows not to say that to Beverly. But Picard knows that if he says something to Wesley, Wesley's just gonna just kind of do the whole middle finger and like, you're not my dad.
Right. And you don't want to drive him away, right? You want
to, just be open to him. Don't force him to do anything he doesn't want to do. And so Wesley, that next morning, is on the surface of Dorvan 5 to find La Quinta, and he finds him and says, "Hey, what should I do?" And La Quinta's like, "I don't know." And then he says, "Hey, well, what about this vision quest? Can send me on this vision quest? I want to know about this thing." And they have this conversation about, what about respect? What do you respect? Because lately Wesley's not really respecting anything. He's just kind of being a jerk to everybody. Mm-hmm. And
kind of self-destructive.
Yeah. And LaCanta is like, everything is, you need to respect everything, including like the mountains and dirt and plants. And Wes, it's just like, here, you're a sacred person too. Even it doesn't matter what you believe. The truth is you're a sacred being. And so, LaCanta says that Wesley needs to start respecting not just things around him, but also his own inner self. And Wesley's like, well, come on, pass the peace pipe. Let's get this sweat lodge underway. Right. What are we doing here?
Yeah, he's like, how much peyote should I take the first time?
Always two buttons.
Yes.
So while this is going on, the negotiations continue about the natives on the planet. Picard is still like, well, I got to move you guys off because these are my orders. Anthwara is like, no, you're not going to take us from this planet. I can tell you're not, because of this coincidence. That Picard is, has this family history about this. He starts talking about this Pueblo revolt of 1680 and how tribes revolted against the Spanish, and how one of the soldiers in this whole tribe was Javier Maribona Picard, one of Picard's ancestors.
Oh, sure.
And Picard is like, I don't know anything about this in my family history, but I, shouldn't matter to what's going on now. But there's this whole. I think and Anthwara was like, he has this comment of, there's a stain of blood in your family for what happened to my ancestors. Mm-hmm. And then so after he says all this, Anthwara, like they leave. They don't resolve anything. Mm-hmm. So then after this meeting, Picard and Troy, they leave and they find Worf, and they're talking about what's going on, and then bam, these Cardassians just show up in the village.
Oh yeah, scouting it out, eh?
Oh yeah.
So we're coming. We got the flyer about the yard sale, so we thought we'd show up a little early. Maybe get some of those good deals.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So. I was just gonna launch into it with like the Minnesota.
Oh no,
no,
yard sale. So, you can find some really nice things there, yeah.
Oh yeah, because the Native Americans, they've got like the very best of all the, they only keep a snowblower for like 2-3 seasons, and then they put it out there, on an amazing price. Like I mean, you can't go to Hardware Hanks and pick it up for that. I'm just saying.
I know little Tommy is looking for some arrowheads.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he loves that. Ever since we watched the Dancing with Wolves, he just loves that. It's the best. So Picard, so now that we have unsubbed the entire state of Minnesota, so Act 4, Picard is they're down there on the planet. He's like, goes up and there's like, kind of who's in charge, and it's this guy. His name's like Golivek, and he's like, hey, who's in charge of like your little group? And Golivek goes, who are you to like question why we're here? He's like, we're here to like, this evacuation's already be underway, and we're here to like, catalog everything that's going to be left behind. And I'm just thinking, what what? Because like this entire town is made out of like rocks and mud. It's like the shit you care what's getting left behind.
Yeah, when it rains, that pueblo has to get remade.
I know. It's like, what are you thinking? It's like you're gonna just wipe this planet. You're gonna like wipe the planet from orbit and start over when you guys get here. But Picard doesn't really understand why the Cardassians are there 6 weeks early. And again, he says, hey, we're going to do a survey and we're going to see what's left over. And Picard says, hey, like this is already like a tenuous situation, and your guys is, sticking, poking your sticks through, all their bags is not like helping things. So, can you please just go back to your ship, and we're going to go back to our ship, and I'm going to like try to, kind of make some headway on getting these people off the planet. So Picard goes back up to the ship and asks, or like sends an emergency message to Admiral Nechayev. And here's the thing, and this kind of confused me because she's on the Enterprise, but I don't remember them saying that she ever left.
Yeah, I don't either. That is true. That is kind of odd.
It's kind of odd that she shows up in person for this meeting at the beginning. So they pick her up and then drop her back off, I guess. But I don't think they specifically address that. But anyway, they calls her on the little desk laptop and says, we got to do something about this because these guys are not going to like go anywhere. And she's like, well, hold on. I've already asked again, just like yesterday, and they have denied the request again. She's like, I absolutely understand what you're up against, and I don't envy your position, but you're going to have to take care of it. So Picard calls in Worf, and he's like, hey, you got to start making preparations to get these people off the planet. So like call the UPS store and see if they got any boxes, some of that bubble wrap.
We got to get those packing peanuts. We need about 3 tons of packing peanuts.
Call Ryder and then also call U-Haul and see who's got the cheapest price on moving blankets. and if they're going to give us the 24-foot truck, make damn sure they're going to throw in the appliance dolly, because I am not carrying 3,000 families worth of dryers up the basement steps.
Are we going to get some movers here that they can just like cling wrap everything and then move it off on a pallet?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking about like, it's all the junk drawers will have to be gone through.
Maybe that's what Golivek was hoping for. To take his pick of all the junk drawers. Yeah.
He's like, oh man, I just need a skate key. And the Cardassian the Cardassian replicators don't have a pattern for a skate key. So, but they're like, hey, like we gotta, I've already tried, and we're gonna have to get them moved. And Picard kind of talks to Riker, and he's like, he tells him about the dark chapter in his family's history, and he's really afraid that it's going to repeat.
Well, the funny thing is he's like, I don't believe you about my family. But then he's like, well, I don't know. It's going to repeat now, even though I don't really 100% believe it.
Well, I thought that it was kind of one of those things where he's like, oh, this is an interesting story. And the guy kind of in the last act is like, hey, I think that you're here to like clean this blood stain off your family's name. That you, after 23 generations, are going to be the Picard that rights this wrong. And so that's why it's really weighing on him, that it's like, oh, this is maybe a dark chapter in my family's history. And he's like, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to be like the person that repeats it. Because I guess that other Picard guy was one of the soldiers that like recaptured that area when the Spanish tried to resettle or whatever. So, but anyway, Wesley and LaCanta, they go to like the Sweat Lodge because they're going to go on this vision quest. And LaCanta says to Wesley, he's like, strangers aren't allowed here. And Wesley's like, but I am a stranger. And he's like, no, you're not a stranger. Don't you contradict me. And because he's like, I know that you've been here before because I saw you in my vision quest. So if you visited here in the spirit world, you can visit here in the physical world. So Wesley is like, well, what do I do? How do I do this? Do I like snort it, or do I just like shoot it between my toes? And LaKenta is like, well, here's the first thing you do, drug fiend, is you got to start this fire. And there's a little fire in the middle of the room. And he's like, and you sit down. And then you kind of like, I'll open the door, but only you can go through it. Okay? And he's like, all right, so you'll be my guide on the spirit quest. So Wesley sort of like, is kind of, closes his eyes. And there's like a moment of sort of like, maybe a mild disorientation. And then he opens his eyes and LaKenta isn't there anymore. So he kind of stands up and he's looking around the room and he sees his late father, because Wesley's dad died when he was a little kid. So he sees Jack Crusher over there, and he's like, Wesley, I'm so proud. Or
Wesley,
I don't know, maybe he does kind of
follow in my footsteps.
I don't think he sounds like a ghost. He's kind of like just. Yeah, he's like, ooh.
You're on a spirit quest.
Yeah, I know. But he's like, kind of congratulations on, how far you've made it. And I'm very, very proud of you. But don't follow my path. You need to, because I know that you thought that being a Starfleet officer would like make me proud or something, but you need to follow your own path, and you need to decide what is important to you, and then do that. So it's kind of like I'm letting you off the hook of thinking that you got to do all this stuff for other people. You need to pick Wesley's genuine path. And so Wesley is kind of like Dad, I don't understand. And he's like, do you not understand English? Is your translator working? It wasn't like that. But so anyway, Wesley kind of like, whoa, like startled and kind of snaps out of the vision quest. I was hoping
so bad that somebody would like grab him and he was inside a holodeck the whole time.
Oh man. Like it was
would have been all hilarious.
So, but Wesley kind of like he gets like shaken, like it kind of comes back to reality, and he like starts to kind of ruminate on what was said, and so he leaves the sweat lodge, and when he goes outside, he hears Worf and another kind of security officer talking about the plans of what they're going to do for the planet. And they're talking to each other, and he's like, Worf's like, set up a perimeter around the edge of the city to, kind of, it'll be a net for transporters or something like that. And they're kind of whispering back and forth. And Wesley just kind of comes up and is like, hey, I'm not like part of your security team. What are you up to, Worf? And it's not Lieutenant Worf. It's not like anything like I'm respecting your position in this military organization that I'm in. He just comes up and calls him Worf.
Kind of was like,
and
okay.
Yeah, he's kind of like, okay, well, here's what we're doing. And he's like, what? You want? Hey, these guys are trying to learn for free over here. He's like, like they're gonna round you guys up and they're gonna kick you off the planet. And so he's like, like causing a ruckus, and all the people down the street are like, we ain't leaving. I ain't afraid of no roller coaster. And so like that's like Worf's all pissed, and like he kind of the dramatic music plays and drops to commercial.
And the interesting thing here is, Wesley is like, they're going to force you off this planet. You're not going to let them do that, are you? And they're like, no, you're not going to do that to us. And I'm sitting here like, it's a transporter. How can you stop them?
Right. I was going to say, like, you guys don't seem like I can judge by, again, like you said earlier, your houses that you have to rebuild every time it rains. That maybe you might be a little outgunned on them moving you off this planet.
Just on basic, technology, it's It's like, what is your plan to stop them from just teleporting you off into like some kind of holding cell if you're not going to do it? Nothing.
Yeah.
But anywho, as the story continues, so right after this, it smashes just right into the observation lounge, and Picard is just giving like Wesley a very stern talking to about his behavior and how there were issues with the team's safety, away team safety, and how Wesley is just like, no, what you're doing about this whole relocation thing is wrong. These aren't just regular run-of-the-mill colonists. They're a culture that have been around before the Federation.
Right.
And Picard is like, no, I get that, but I don't care. As long as you're in a Starfleet uniform, you're going to follow these orders. And at that point, Wesley's like, no, I'm not. And he takes off his little badge, the comm badge, and puts it on the table and takes off.
Now, according to Rule 34 of the internet, he stripped all the way down to his bare Wesleyness. And then he
gave back all of the uniform.
And then, yes, he gave back all the uniform. And then Picard rubbed his bald head all over his nubile young body.
Sure, that happened.
Yeah, there's some shipping going on here, potentially. But
all right. After the bald head rubbing happens, Wesley and Beverly are having a conversation about why Wesley's leaving the academy, and she confronts him and saying like, I can't stop you, but you owe me some kind of an explanation. You owe me that much. And so Wesley's like, all right, look, I smoked some stuff. I saw Dad. Dad's like, hey, I smoked some stuff too. Don't follow in my footsteps, kid. And it's really, he just says like, I'm not happy, and I don't want to be a Starfleet officer anymore because it's not making me happy. And I wasn't really able to admit it until now. But Beverly, she gets upset. She's like, I need to know why you're gonna throw your life away. And then later she says, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be proud of you no matter what you're doing.
Right. Whatever drugs you're doing, I'll always be happy.
You're doing. So then Beverly's like, look, there's the Traveler. Remember the Traveler? The Traveler had told Captain Picard a while back that you, Wesley, are special like Mozart because we don't have any other pop culture or historical figures other than the ones we had before the year 2000.
Right. It's, he couldn't have been special like Zefram Cochrane or, special like, Khan Noonien Soon or,
Spock.
Right.
It has to, yeah. But pretty much she says you're special, you're destined for great things, and this might be a good thing for you to just leave.
Yeah, like take a year off in Europe, like just kind of bum around. Go to Prague,
yeah, and have the time of your life.
Yeah, try not to get VD, and then come back in a year and see how you feel.
Right. And while this is going on, Golovec is discussing the situation on the planet with Picard. And at this time, some Cardassians are taken hostage by the native colonists. And Worf calls up to Picard during this meeting, and Golovec, and he asks Golovec to just say, look, we don't need an escalation, just beam your men up. And Golovec is like, no, get troops down there. We're going to fight these guys because they should be gone already.
Right.
So Picard says, well, if you do that, we're going to have to respond, and you don't want us to respond because that's going to be a real problem for both of us.
Yeah. This is going to be the opening volleys of a war here.
Like Universe War 9.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's not good for anybody. So on the surface, a fight breaks out when I think the Cardassian tried to get free, and some of the natives just started shooting, and then you had Worf shooting, and then Wesley is walking out of the little hut, and then he sees it all and he runs forward and is like, stop, and then bam, everything pauses.
Oh man.
And then
it's a real
La
good
Quinta,
pause, like you're watching it on Laserdisc pause.
It
Just
is.
rock solid.
And what's so great about this amazing fuzzy pause is that Wesley and La Quinta look crystal clear.
Yes, almost as if they're in front of like a chroma wall or something.
I don't know from chroma, but I know they look great.
Yes.
But yeah, he pretty much reveals himself. He's the Traveler. LaCanta's the Traveler.
No, what?
Yeah, just he goes from looking like Tatanka from the WWF,
yes,
to a guy with a weird forehead and wearing like neutral toned clothing.
Yes, he's got like male pattern baldness that ends like somewhere on his lower back. It just goes all the way back. Yeah. Yeah, so receding further than any other hairs have receded before. Yes, it's receded further than any man has gone before. But so you're telling me that this thing earlier where they just dropped the Traveler's name just for like no reason out of nowhere, that there's a payoff for that? Oh my gosh.
Why wouldn't there be? I mean, the Traveler, from what I know, is one of the greatest characters of Star Trek history. Yeah. So of course, we need to have him closing off somebody's story.
Yes, because I didn't just need a closure for Wesley Crusher. I mean, the most beloved character in Star Trek history, the Traveler. I mean, you had to have some sort of like closure for his story.
Oh yes, yeah. So basically, the Traveler says, "Look, kid, you have power, and you can travel to different planes and times of existence. And it's like, this is you've evolved. You need to come on. I'll take you on this journey." And it's something that not many humans have done before. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But it's still grass, gas, or ass. I mean,
pretty much.
Nobody goes with the Traveler for free.
No, and the payment is if you want to come with me, you have to just leave all this behind. We know you have power now, but we can't change anything.
Right.
Regardless of what happens, just have faith in the fact that people are going to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Wesley turns around, they leave, and bam, the action starts again, and that fight continues. Back on the bridge, Picard is talking to Golovec and says, she's trying to convince him, like, look, we don't want to start a battle. How many people have died? We got to stop this conflict now. And it comes down between us, you and me. We got to stop this. And eventually Golovec concedes, is like, okay, and just beam our people out. We'll beam our people out too. And that's pretty much it. Golovec even goes so far as saying, look, I lost 2 of my 3 sons during the last war. I don't want to lose my 3rd one.
Sure.
So the colonists, they're still intent. They want to stay on the planet, and so they say, you know what? Because you guys don't want to back us up, we don't want to be part of the Federation anymore.
Yeah.
And the Cardassians are like, well, if you stay in your little mud pile, you can stay there. We'll leave you alone for the most part, but just don't come near us. We'll leave you alone.
Right.
And they both are like, we'll agree to that. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's pretty much it. I mean, the ending of this episode is Wesley is leaving, and he's like, he's going to stay on Dorvan 5 for a while, because apparently the people on Dorvan 5 are aware of many things, except they don't know when someone's going to try to steal them away in the middle of the day. Right.
It's, just anybody could just come in, and that's the thing. It's like they're very quick to believe that the Cardassians are going to make good on their promises, when just like part of the universe away over there on Bajor, they basically was like, just like a rape planet. It's like, well, these reptile looking dudes, they're probably cool.
They're like the mighty thunder lizard.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, I would not believe anything these guys say, but I guess if you want to stay. But it doesn't make sense that the Cardassians would be like, so like, well, if you stay out of our business, we'll stay out of yours, kind of thing with these guys. But
yeah, they haven't done that ever.
No, they've never ever done that. It seems very much
Cardassians.
Yeah. It seems well, you know who I blame? Ronald D. Moore. You think he would know?
Yeah.
It's like, how many of these episodes have you written? I mean, you can look back at the show Bible and see that.
Hold on, I'm talking to Hugo over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode. I mean, oh man, this episode was rough. Not my favorite.
No, I like Wesley Crusher, and I like the Traveler thing, but I like them in the context of those old episodes. I didn't need to see where these guys ended up, because especially like coming up here, I think season 6, there's a whole episode about Wesley, like, screwing up at Starfleet Academy and basically almost getting drummed out. And I think that's what starts him down this path of maybe I don't want to play these games anymore. But in chronological order, the next time we see Wesley is at Riker and Troy's wedding.
Ooh,
just kind of, yeah, like he's like he's in Insurrection. Like that's the next time we see him, and he's just like a wedding guest, and there's like no explanation why he's there. Just like there's no explanation why Worf's there. Like they're just there. Like they were like, we need characters that people recognize from this show, and here's 2 of them.
I know you 2 guys aren't doing anything, so get over here.
Yeah, it's like Michael Dorn, the money that you made doing all those voices for that Gargoyles cartoon, I mean, you've already spent that on a new above ground pool. So we need you here for stuff and things.
We know voice actors get paid practically pennies.
Right. And Will Wheaton, the internet is not a huge thing yet, so you haven't figured out a way to like extract money from nerds. So you're going to be back for this too. But I guess there's some like extended like scenes of that where he actually has a couple of lines. But I think in the like theatrical cut, you basically just see him sitting at a table and you're just be like, what? Like, how did he how did they even send him a wedding invitation? It's like, okay, let's see. Wesley, come to our wedding with a +1 if you want to bring the Traveler, I guess.
The Traveler shows up and is like, look, we made a mistake with getting Wesley as a Traveler.
It's the Travelers group.
He's still on Dorvin 5. Yeah. He was like, I learned everything I can about you guys. I'm waiting for the Traveler to show up to take me to my next spot. And the Traveler's like, oh God, why did I choose this man?
Oh man, I shouldn't. This is why I shouldn't drink and then pick a protege. So
all he does is complain about his like mom.
Yeah, it's like I don't need to hear any other stories about that time you followed the train tracks to find that body. I don't want to hear it anymore.
All right, so that was an episode that I am glad we're gone.
Yes.
Just glad it's over. I'm glad it's gone.
Yes, I'm glad it's done. It's an easy. It was an easy one to watch. But it's just not. It's not. Yeah, it was just. It didn't really. It wasn't boring, but it was angsty Crusher and crew didn't really make it easier to watch.
So next episode is an episode called Genesis.
Oh,
and I'll read you the little tag here. Enterprise crew members de-evolve into prehistoric creatures after a medical treatment by Dr. Crusher goes wrong.
Oh man, that sounds like a shit show. Can't wait.
Written by Brandon Braga and directed by Gates.
Oh, Gates. Good Lord. They let her do another one of these things after Sub Rosa?
I guess so.
I guess they did. Whew. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, James, thank you so much for joining me again this week. And hey, dress warmly in those other planes of existence.
Oh my God, worst line ever. We'll see everybody next time.
See you next time.